All right, welcome to our team call. This is pre-recorded for you guys due to my travel schedule for next week, but it was recommended and requested that we do a men's panel, and very easy for me to call upon these three awesome guys because they are in the trenches doing this business with us, and I've known them all for quite a long time, some of them their whole entire lives. So I thought, what a great way to do an interview and get the men's perspective on some really great questions. So what I want to do is start off, I'm going to have each of you introduce yourself, and I want you to share what drew you to Isagenix as a business, because you all came here for the business. So share a little bit of your story and what drew you in. Who would like to go first? Go ahead, Randy. Uh-oh, can't hear you.
Going off right now.
Yep, there you go.
Okay. Yeah, my alarm went off.
Oh.
Didn't want to miss this. Actually, I got started because my wife forced me into it. I'll put it right out there. That we came in for the products, and I had such a dramatic transformation that I was swamped with requests for information about it. And Jody, my wife, was already doing another business. So she said, you take this one, I'll keep with mine, and we'll just go with it. That's the simple answer.
That's a simple answer. And I'm going to ask you some more questions about that after. All right, Tyler, why don't you go next?
So you guys have probably heard my story, but you know I grew up around direct sales, network marketing with mom, obviously, and never really saw it as an opportunity. But for me, when I started down the path of my engineering career, you know, doing internships and then eventually starting my full-time job, I just wasn't satisfied with the outlook of my career. Doing that for 40 years, it really seemed like there was a long tunnel with no light at the end. And I was looking for opportunities. And when I was like 20 years old, I think I read a book called The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, which is kind of like the Bible of millennial lifestyle. I feel like all millennials are looking for like more freedom and choices and ability to travel and that kind of stuff. And I read that book and I was like, wow, you know, there is another way. I can create some kind of online business or do something. I had no idea what that business was going to be. I just decided after I read that book that eventually I'd figure it out. And just so happens that, you know, network marketing came back across my face and into my life. And I realized what an incredible opportunity it was to do that, to design your life around your work rather than, or design your work around your life, rather than the other way around. So that's really what attracted me.
Awesome. And John came out of the womb an entrepreneur. So tell us your story, John.
Well, it's funny because Cindy, you were really my first introduction to network marketing when we were on vacation in the Outer Banks, when you brought this to my mom and you guys were all excited about it. You're excited for me, and I really wanted nothing to do with it or to even look at it or use the products or anything. And you know, that was my first exposure to the business. And when I went away to school that year, my friend came to me with a different company. And that's when I really, you know, looked at it and gave it a chance and saw what was possible with the time freedom, the residual income, and what this could really mean for me long term. And so I started building that business. And after about 6 months, I just was watching you and my mom and realized how much better Isagenix was as a company, and all the physical results everyone were having, the financial results. So it made me realize that Isagenix was definitely the better company to partner with for the long term. And just the business model is phenomenal. There's nothing like it. Just the possibility, it's allowed me to go live in different countries and make a paycheck every week while I've been over there. And there just really is nothing like it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So this is a question I'm kind of excited to hear how you guys answer this one. How can we, now I'm talking about all of us on our team, everyone listening to the call, attract more men into our business? Go ahead, Randy. We'll go in order. That way, gives everybody time to think about it.
Yeah, put me on the fire right now. I don't necessarily approach men or women differently. That I really do try to be open to where people are and show them the opportunity, no matter whether they're male or female. For me, and maybe it's because I'm a boomer, that I do try to focus on boomers, my classmates, people that I used to work with in the airline business. But I don't necessarily try to prospect men over women. that's never been one of my intentions. I think the biggest thing is, like we do all the time, is just be yourself and share how these products and this business have changed our lives. That I was an airline pilot. I traveled a lot. I suffered jet lag tremendously, and these products helped me get through that, and really offered the financial side of it that I never figured. And so I do try to bring that up to anybody that I talk to.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Tyler?
Just to echo those thoughts, I would say you don't treat anybody differently. I mean, people are people regardless, but if you want to attract more men into your organization, it has to be something you're intentional about. You can't have the approach that, well, it's 90% female, so I'm not really worried about men anyways, and still expect men to come along. You have to realize that, there's people like the three of us here that are looking for an opportunity like this. And if you write them off just because they're a man, you never attract it. So you have to realize that we're just as open to opportunity as women. And we are just as capable of building network marketing businesses as women, and, build your business that way. Have events that aren't super, female oriented events. Every now and then have an event where it's attractive for a man to tag along and go. Don't just have get together and do a sip and sample that's very female focused. Have events where it's okay to bring the husband, or maybe for you to invite men and that kind of thing, and make it, if you want to attract men, make it something you're intentional about.
Great.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point, Ty. And it's funny because in the beginning, you thought this was only for women, right? And that's because, we got brought into this. It was our moms doing it. We saw them, attracting a lot of people who were like them, a lot of women into the business. And I think that, like you said, there's entrepreneurial men out there. I'm the same way. And I think if you can make this more catered to something that's attractive to them, like once I saw the business plan, like that's not male or female oriented. You know what I mean? If you can understand the numbers, understand the comp plan, and see what it's about, what the possibilities are, then that's all that matters. So I think you're completely right. Just do it in a way, like you don't have to have a sip and sample that's all dresses and flowers. You know what I mean? Like you can do this in a way that, like professionally as a male business opportunity. So definitely.
I was totally expecting one of you and thought John would say, I had tried to attract women, because I know I've had the conversations with both Tyler and John that they like to attract stay-at-home moms kind of like me. But this is the thing. I think what all three of you said is we just don't discriminate, because you just never know if it's a young person, an old person, a man or a woman. Anyone can do this business. If their why is big enough and they're motivated and driven, anyone can succeed here. I have loved, and I'm sure Randy is so grateful for John and Tyler, because for a while, Randy was the solo man on our team. Like for a while, the only guy that would show up on the calls and the only leader we had. And so now it's been really fun to see other men on our calls. We get a lot of guys on our team calls every week, a lot of guys rank advancing and doing this business full time. So I'm sure Randy's psyched about that, huh?
Absolutely. And that's one of the nice things about this is that as we grow, especially getting the millennials like you guys in here, that it definitely broadens out this entire profession for everybody going, oh, it's not just for stay-at-home moms. Mm-hmm. That I love your idea, Ty, about having a guy event that we've got some friends and they do basketball parties or football parties, and it's just guys meeting at some place. And somehow you can work that in to where you can also introduce them into the products, because he's also on our team. So, there's a lot of ways to approach this just for the guys to make it stand out from the girls.
Yep. And I know one thing that I've been doing intentionally and differently is I really try to get guys to come to our events, sip and samples, even if there's just a couple of them, whether it's a spouse of a woman that's building, or whether it's a guy who's building, because I think you need that man's perspective. I bring Scott to a lot of my sip and samples, and sometimes he's the only guy, and what he'll say, someone will really resonate with. So it's really important to have guys come to the, whatever you're calling them, health and wellness events. I've got a healthy happy hour coming up, and my hostess, I'm doing it for her and another woman, but she said I could bring people if I wanted. And I said, I'm going to bring some guys. And she's like, oh, I would love that, because my son has never sat through one. I've done several for her because it's always women. And she's like, he would actually come and sit if he knew there was going to be some guys there. So absolutely key point. All right.
One more thing, Cindy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the last company I was with was mostly males. And I think it's all about the culture you're building. And I think on our team, a lot of people think males might not want to do this because there is such a dominant culture because of like what you guys have created and attract, that there's so many females a part of it. But there's so many companies out there that are male dominated, and it's all about just the culture you're creating. And I'm sure you guys were just at the GoPro event. Tyler was telling me how there's so many huge male leaders with huge male following. So it really is all about the culture. And it's just, I think our team just has so many females that we're kind of we can be blinded sometimes to what's going on in the bigger picture of things.
Yeah, but the shift has been coming. I mean, what's been so cool in the last year is watching all the guys you guys are bringing in and the teams bringing in, and the millennials. So, what started off with a bunch of women just like me has now really grown. It's so cool to be a part of and witness. And it's brought so much excitement and energy to the whole team.
Absolutely. And I'd like to tag on to that too, is that I think finally network marketing is an acceptable profession, that the stigma is slowly being removed and people look at it as a viable option, especially in this digital world that we're involved in now. So it goes hand in hand. Our company has done amazingly well in adapting as things change. So, that's, I think, one of the big aspects where it's starting to open up and everybody sees the potential.
Yeah, and that's so funny. A lot of what we're talking about here is part of the piece Tyler and I are training on at New Year's kickoff. So you guys you'll appreciate that. All right, so now going into this new year, I love a new year because people can really stretch themselves, set big goals, big visions for themselves. We're getting ready to kick off the Big Picture Growth U program on January 14th. So we're hoping many of you guys will join us for that. What I want you guys to share is any tips you have on setting yourselves up for the new year. So what are you individually doing to schedule, plan, and prepare for this new year, for the Crystal Reset, for this new trip that's going to be announced? Give some tips, some practical things that you're doing that will help the team. Let's start again with you, Randy.
I think it goes back to the same thing that we've always done, is be consistent. That Jody and I in particular had a rough 2018 physically, and it was challenging. And in the same light, it's also mentally almost depressing in that sense. So 2019 is a big year for me, and that's why I jumped onto the big picture, because I need that reset. I need the physical reset. I need the mental reset. So I'm coming out that way. Our business staggered in 2018. So Jody and I have been planning how we're going to approach that and come out for the new year. And it's still, we try to do 1 to 2 enrollments every month or every week, and 5 minimum a month. And we've always come from that. We operate the business together. She's got her own separate business under mine. And so we work both businesses together. And it gets a little challenging, but we don't necessarily put one over the other. We just strategically plan for that. But we want to get back to being paid 3-star, 4-star would be great. And so that's what we're trying to do is get out there and grow leaders. We had a meeting last night and shared some of the visions after seeing the Isagenix Zoom call the previous night, and we shared all the information on that, did a little planning with our team, and setting up coaching calls with them. So we're still doing the same things. We're just trying to reignite people and get them going, and approaching things a little bit differently than this year, trying to utilize the new member checklist and the tools that are available.
That's great. Go ahead, Todd.
So for us, so one thing we've done kind of end of 2018, start of 2019 is we asked everybody on our team that's at least enroll 2 people, at least become a consultant at some point, ask them if they wanted to do a 20-minute like goal setting call with us. And I would say after a couple reminders, we've had over half our people do that. And that's been really helpful because it's so easy to assume. You assume that you know what someone's goals are. You assume where they're at in life and what they're doing. You might assume that they've dropped off, or they're not that interested anymore. or you might assume someone's got big goals, but they're just not matching their effort. But when you actually all you have to do is have a conversation, and so many times it's easy not to, because you just go through the daily actions of your business. You're not really thinking about that. But if you just stop and have your conversation with those people, it's amazing the kind of tidbits we've got from people, where someone who hasn't got on a team call in a month is like, yeah, I need to do this more. Like I have big goals, and they have much bigger goals for 2019 than we ever would have imagined, because we haven't even seen them in a month. And then there's people who, we're counting on doing big things, who maybe aren't there yet, and they aren't there mentally. So it's been really helpful to figure that out. And then another thing we're planning on really spending a lot of time with those emerging leaders this year, because, of course, we're still going to continue to enroll, but as you start to develop that team of leaders, it's so important to spend time with them, because environment is everything, and you can't accomplish that with Zoom alone. So doing a little bit of traveling around and spending time with people is on our radar for 2019. And we've really planned out, we being Zoe and I, my girlfriend, who has a separate business center under me, just like Randy, but we work pretty much synergistically. We've planned out our 2019 in terms of where we're going to go, spend, just like we were planning a normal business. We have a calendar for the year, and quarter 1, 2, 3, 4, knowing what we're going to be doing and where we're going to be and what people need our help and that kind of thing. So just having a good idea of where you're headed is always important.
Yeah. Planning and treating it like a business. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's all great stuff for sure. A huge resource that I'm going to really utilize this year is our Own Your Life group and our weekly webinars. Because at the end of the year, just going into the new year, I had great success with that. And it's really just going through, asking anyone. It's a great reason to reach out to someone and ask for referrals. I've had people get in the calls just saying like, hey, do you mind taking a look at this and keeping in mind anyone who might be good at something like this? And I'll gladly give you money if they decide to enroll with me. And so that just gets them on the call. And then when they're on the call, they're going to watch it with an open mind. And then, more often than not, they might think it might be something that's for them. So that's a huge resource we are using. We're going to make consistent, and that everyone else should definitely be taking huge advantage of. And then I just plan on really the whole 45-second presentation, finding your 5 people. I've been really working hard to find my 5 people to link arms with and focus on training them, coaching them, and showing them how to duplicate within their own organization. So those are the 2 major things I'm focused on this year.
Boy, that's awesome. I took notes, so I'm hoping you guys watching really got some great tips here. And I'm going to just kind of summarize consistency, the importance of that. The people that succeed in this business are consistent over and over and over again. And if you work full time, you can still be consistent. You have to figure out how much time you have to devote to your business and be consistent with that. What Randy said about consistently enrolling is huge, especially with the incentives moving forward. Make it a minimum to enroll 5 people a month, getting your free vitamins and getting your points for Leader in Action. But now they're giving us points up to 10 enrollments. So I think you should shoot for 10, settle for 5. Shoot for 10, settle for 5 every single month. Loved the 20-minute goal setting calls. I think that's a great tip. Many of us should be doing that with our team, figuring out who wants it. Laura Stevens on the call the other night, I think it was Laura. No, it was Lindsay. She said, you can't just ask people to raise their hand if they want the Crystal Reset. You need to personally invite them. People need to know that you are invested in them and you'll spend time with them. Like Tyler was saying, they're going to spend time with their emerging leaders. That's how we grow leaders who grow leaders. And that's how it's duplicated. And that's that whole Own Your Life concept. Stay tuned. We're going to be coming out with kind of the next phase of Own Your Life. So now we've got HHP to send our prospects for products into that group, and then of course coaching through the program, through the systems. Now we've got Own Your Life. When we have a business lead or maybe a new person that is open to taking a look at the business, we've got that. So now we need the next system in place of what do we do with these people once they come through. So we know we've got our business group, ISA for Wealth. We're either going to do a big facelift in there or offer something else, but we're working on it right now. We'll be letting that, it's going to be unfolding here in the next week or so. So stay tuned for that. All right, guys. So I would like you guys to just all share any last tips of advice, any advice you want to give people who are watching this call who really want 2019 to be better than last year. A lot of people, we know statistically across the boards, sales were a little softer last year, enrollments were down, and rank advancements were down for the company, not for everyone on our team. We did have some people in growth during this time, which was fabulous, but there are people that are really wanting 2019 to be their breakthrough year. So any words of advice, tips you can leave them with?
I'll jump in first. That I think it was you, Ty, that made the comment about the relationships of digging in with them and those 10-minute calls and just reaching out to people on your team that we've always done that where we go back, even if they've deactivated or they're in zero BV and we stay in touch with them. But even more so, I think develop the relationships even deeper, that we probably know each other better than a lot of people do that do businesses like this because of the Zoom calls and the meetings that we have at conference. But with our own team, you got to go even deeper. And I love what they say at conferences where you've got to know the color of their carpet in their house and their kids' names. And I don't do that well. And that's something that I personally have to really focus on this year and make a point of getting to know people better and spending that time with them.
And I know who has wine cellars in their house and great collections of wine, that's for sure.
And you're welcome anytime.
All right, Ty.
So Randy stole my thunder a little bit, but I'll add something else on top of that. I think if you want 2019 to be the year where you go from, $300 a month to $3,000 or from, a very small part-time income to a full-time income or anywhere in between, you have to approach this differently than you approach your traditional job. We're just so trained to, think that we put in some work, we get some money back every week, and we just, trade time for money. But this is so different. We're building an asset here. So treat your business and your whole life like a business owner does. Take that entrepreneurial approach where you're going to do some work now that you're not going to get paid for, but eventually you're going to get paid for work you're not doing. And take that approach that you're investing all your time and energy and money now for the return long term. So don't get frustrated when you don't have the week that you want. Just track your actions rather than your results, in the beginning, and track what you're doing, because that's what's going to pay off long term. And when you have that approach, it's easy. And if your goal is to become full time like mine was, your job is a money machine to pay the bills and fund your investment in your business, and your focus on building your future is your network marketing business. So focus on it like a business owner and treat it like a business and have the long-term approach, and that'll guide all your day-to-day actions. If you have that approach, the skills and strategies will come to you with ease.
Yeah, and I've always heard if you treat this like a hobby, it's going to pay you like a hobby. So absolutely. Awesome. John.
Yeah, one thing I'll add is network marketing as a business, it's simple, but it's definitely not easy. And we always stress the importance of personal development, and that is so key in this business. And having a vision on where you want to go, getting crystal clear on what you want out of this business. Everyone's going to have a different goal coming in. Some people might just want to make a couple $100s to supplement their income. Some people might want to take this and replace their income with it. So it's so important to be plugged in and have that vision, but also do the personal development. Because I've seen Tyler and I especially how far we've gotten just from personal development and how much we've grown as a person, how much our business has grown. And that's really the key to all of this, because your business is only going to grow to the extent that you grow. So that's definitely my number one thing that people should be focused on, is just growing yourself.
I got one thing to add to kind of on what John said and what I was finishing is a good thing I learned from a couple mentors in Isagenix that I heard was every day, ask yourself, if you were a boss paying you as an employee, what would you pay yourself? And that's eye-opening, because if you have a goal to make $50,000 a year with Isagenix, but every day when you get to the end of the day, you'd think that you're worth about $10,000 based on the effort you're putting in. That's all the more you're ever going to make. It's capitalism. It's traditional economics. Like, you're going to get paid for the value you add. And if you're adding, a $500 a week worth of value, that's what you're going to get paid in the long run. And if you're adding much more than that, you're going to get paid that. So ask yourself that and keep yourself accountable for what kind of effort you're putting in and value you're putting forth. And if you want a full-time business income, you have to, operate like a full-time business owner. And a huge part of that is the personal growth piece that John talked about, doing something every day to move your business forward. And the greatest way to start is move yourself forward and, go from there.
Yeah.
And I get to tag on to that one. You'll never get this call done, Cindy. We're just going to go on forever.
I have one more thing to ask you at the end too. So.
Okay. I come from the traditional job. In fact, it's not even traditional, because as an airline pilot, I go to work, I fly my trip, I come home, I don't bring work home. And I did that for 36 years. Now, I was in the Navy before that, so that was more like corporate America to a certain extent. And I think with Tyler and John, that they've had a look at corporate America, and they know what that work is like. And so they've transitioned really quickly and with that entrepreneurial spirit. And that's hard. And I'll say it right out in front. It's hard for people like me to transition to this type of thing, because you've got to be self-motivating. You've got to make sure you get the work done. You got to know what the business is and what you're doing with it. And it's challenging. I'll just say that right there. I'm fortunate that I've got Jody to work alongside with me. I'm actually the business and numbers guy in the relationship, but I still go out and I talk to people. I help her put on presentations. I started doing launch parties right at the beginning when I had no idea what a launch party was. So you can do it coming from the corporate world. I think we've got several men that have done this and have been very successful. And I think you just have to work on the mindset, and that's where Growth U really comes in. And, you know, I thank Susan and you for getting us over there to work on that. And I can't count the number of books that I've read on personal growth. So I'm with you guys on how important that is to be able to get yourself transitioned to this type of business.
Yeah. And personal development is everything. And, you know, Susan and I always say mindset isn't one thing, it's everything. And I love the fact that we really are personal development with a paycheck. We get paid to grow ourselves personally. All right. Last questions just for Randy, because I forgot to ask this already. You've played both parts of this. You're here building a business, but you've also been the support person in your marriage when Jody had her last business. So speak to the men or women who are the support person, because we have support people, both men and women, that are here really, you know, loving on their spouse and trying to do what they can to help and support their spouse. So what advice can you give them? And then we'll wrap it up.
I think it's interesting that you asked that question, because her business before was totally different than this. And I remember having the conversations with her and saying, you are working too hard to be paid this little. And that was one of my biggest irks with that whole thing, because that was her full-time job. And when we got into this, there was no problem supporting her. Yeah, I was already doing it, but she took her knowledge of network marketing and presentations and just transferred it over. So for me, that support is fairly easy. But I know I did give her a hard time, not because I thought it was stupid, just that she wasn't getting paid enough. So the important thing is find the business that's got the comp plan like ours, and it makes it easier. And it's going to take time. That you've got to put a lot of time in it. And, you know, as a husband, you got to help do the dishes. You got to take care of the kids. You know, you got to take up slack. And I'm not going to say that guys just come home and throw themselves on the couch and ask for a beer, but you know, anything down in that range and up, you know, it's got to stop. You got to help, because especially in this business, it'd be nice to be able to be retired by your wife or your husband, and it's possible, but you got to help each other do it.
Yeah. Best words you can say is what can I do to help you today? And, you know, Scott's always been supportive of me, but when I truly got his attention is when I showed him the money. You know, my kids used to tease me. Tyler talks about this to this day, and he probably feels bad about it now. My others, I still get some teasing from my younger kids. But the point is, they take you a lot more seriously when this is a serious business for you. If it's a hobby for you, people aren't going to take you serious. They're not going to support you and help you and encourage you and pick up slack for you. But if you're treating this like a business, you're bringing in a serious income from it, you're going to earn the respect of your partner. You're going to earn
Absolutely.
your family, and they're going to pick up the slack and want to help you more and not tease you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I can't thank you guys enough. Great call. Thank you for supporting the team. And team, we are so excited for an epic year for you. We can't wait to bring home all the excitement from New Year's kickoff. We'll know in a week where we're going, where our trip is going to be. And I hope out of the 150 people that earn this trip, we've got a good crew of people that are earning it from our team. So have a great day, everyone. Thank you guys. You were awesome. Love having men on this team.
See you guys. Thank you.